Friday morning, Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, as we get you up and we get you going. I couldn't make it 40 seconds.
Put the timer on them.
Yeah. Obviously, we are the last show to talk about this. What should be and it is a celebration. You say something.
With scorching hot takes. Last one being 41-24, I believe. I wrote down his last prediction. He went down very cogent to the end, very much on top of us. But again, if you have not heard, or if you have not seen, or if you have not read, our beloved Gamecock Larry has passed away. He has moved on, and we're gonna take some time to talk about him. We're gonna take some time to celebrate, but most importantly, we're gonna honor him with a banging show today, because we know he would be listening, and he would want us to give a great performance today. So, again, one more time, if you have not heard, Gamecock Larry, our beloved number one caller, our number one roster spot. In fact, we have a placeholder in our rundown for Gamecock Larry, which means we're going to have to come up with some content now, because we could count on Gamecock Larry while we were sleeping, trying to stumble our way through, waking up in the morning. We could count on Gamecock Larry to get everybody going. And so we have a cache of those calls. We have a bank of those calls that we will be running in future weeks, but we wanted to take some time today to just acknowledge his presence and mention that obviously we'd be remiss if we did not mention a huge part of what has been our show in the mornings.
Yeah, I'm going to try and talk. Yeah, you're right. It's hard for me to sit here and look up at our call screener and his name and his phone number not be there, as Jen would put it every morning. And, he gave me so much hell. And I loved every second of it. I loved him like a family member because he was. I know a lot of you've got lives and you're busy and everything, but he would call every morning. He would call twice if necessary to make sure that we would stay on topic. He was a co-producer with Jen. If we bounced off topic, he would make sure that we would get back to talking Gamecocks. Didn't want to talk NFL. Didn't want to talk NBA.
Did not. Had
no business for it. But Jen is out. But Jen is with us this morning, joining us. And Jen, you've worked here longer than all of us, the three of us sitting here this morning. And I know that you and your conversations with Gamecock Larry every morning, while you were busy, while you were trying to get stuff done, he would want to talk to you.
Yeah, he would. He definitely would. And it would be a variety of things. It could be he'd give me an update on, his health, or just darn that Bill, he's out again. How much vacation time does he get? I mean, he was good at roasting, and that was hard news to take yesterday morning for sure. It's going to be very odd to start the show without him.
Yep, Preston, he at times struggled with your name.
Listen, man, he got the P correct, and I guess I could understand how that could be difficult. Preston, Patrick, I understand how that could work. He never called me late for dinner, so we was good. So it was no problem. It was no problem. Me and Gamecock Larry was squared up on that.
Yeah, he would usually. My understanding was that he called most, I think, of our shows, and but for sure, if he called in and maybe he felt like he wasn't clear-headed or something, he'd call back later in the morning and he'd apologize, like, I'm sorry, I was kind of mixed up, but I'll do better tomorrow. Like, he was always concerned about how he sounded, or if maybe there was a prediction he gave, he might call back and confirm it. Like, yep, that's what I want. That's the score. That's what it's going to be. You tell Bill. You tell Preston. And he was also if you noticed, even in the past couple of weeks, he'd had a couple hospitalizations, and he decided that he needed to make sure to thank nurses and doctors and different medical professionals. He was just very kind. He wanted to make sure to thank people. I love all y'all. I think I'll miss hearing that a lot. Love all y'all. Go Gamecocks. That was his thing, and how he wrapped up every conversation or every stint that he was on the air.
Yeah, Will Muschamp's first year, we were doing the show, and he correctly predicted South Carolina to beat Tennessee here. Don't know if we would necessarily believe that, but doggone it if he didn't call that one. And maybe the one that I'll forever remember is him calling South Carolina to beat Georgia over there. I think Georgia was number 3. That's the Blankenship missed field goals, banked off the upright, and I think it was a 20. South Carolina was like a 25-point underdog in that game. And while there might have been a lot of what we'll say overly optimistic Gamecock fans, there was nobody as optimistic each and every time out. Mm-hmm. I know that year, I believe in particular, I think that South Carolina lost to North Carolina, and I think the angriest I've ever heard him, the Labor Day that he called in and said that he reversed course. He went 0-12, and then called back the very next day and apologized and said, "I'm wrong." And he said, I got a little upset, and I apologize. He said, they're going 11-1 until proven otherwise. And that would be it. And as a texter weighs in here, he also brought us the helping of liver pudding. That was a staple of Gamecock Larry.
I just feel like, Bill, I understand how this is an emotional day for you, and everything is very sincere. But I got to say, I don't know if I believe you until you eat some liver pudding and grits in his honor.
Oh.
On air.
Well, thankfully, we're not doing it today.
All I'm saying is if you truly want to honor the legacy of the early game, I feel like we got to share in some liver pudding and grits.
Maybe Jen can fix that when she's back, and I can test it out off air to give it a trial run to let you know what to expect on air. Because nobody wants to hear me gagging on air. But I laugh. I tell the story. He would come out to remotes, and you'd see him out there, and he'd threaten to hit me he'd threaten to hit me with his cane if I didn't stay on topic and do stuff. But the funniest one is where we sit, where the kids and I sit at football games in the zone. There was a particular game I turned around. I'd met him several times, so he knew who I was. I turned around and I saw him sitting a couple rows behind me, and I told my kids we were going to halftime, and I told the kids, I said, hey, that's Gamecock Larry. Austin had been here in studio. Austin at least knew who he was. And I said, I want you to walk by. I want you to thank him for his service for our country, and I want you to tell him how great he is, and that you enjoy listening to him give your dad hell every morning. They went up and they interacted with him for a few minutes, and then I kind of stayed back, and then I walked a few seconds after they left. They went on up, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And just without even saying hello, he just looked at me and handed me his plate and his cup. It's like, I got trash for you to throw away. I was just great. It's good to see you too. Yes, sir. I'll throw your trash away, Gamecock Larry. But it was.
Said, thank you for your service, Bill.
Yes, yeah. But honestly, I think all of us in life, we strive to be positive. We strive to always find the silver lining in everything. But I think that's what Gamecock Larry embodied, was that very rarely when Gamecock Larry went negative on a coach or anything, you knew times were bad.
That should have been the meter.
Oh, man.
You know how they measure hurricanes by the Waffle House? They should measure hot seat by Gamecock Larry, because there was a few times, and Coach Kingston, shout out to you, but we could have seen it coming because Larry soured on him, and he stayed positive to the end. But Larry's version of sour would be, I ain't going to talk about that. Don't get me started on that.
The Gamecock Larry Index.
Exactly. Yeah. It should be the Gamecock Larry Index for sure.
So
yeah, 100%. He was the ultimate in positivity when it came to that. But yeah, he could get frustrated, but it certainly did not last long. There's some who it seemed to last a whole bunch longer, and and it was fun that this year and during the football season he had the opportunity to go to a game. It was harder for him to get out and to kind of be mobile, and but somebody had gotten tickets for him and special parking, and so he was there at Gamecock Walk, and Beamer shook his hand, and a couple of players did. So I mean, what a thrill for him, just the past couple of months of his life, where he gets to do some kind of extra fun things and really celebrate his Gamecock fandomship or fandom, I guess. So he lived it up till the end, and that's what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got, Jen is out, but we're going to, I know that he was a part of every show. He would call into every show, but.
Yeah, but just like your best friends, I know he called every show.
Yeah.
But he set our show off. So I know every other show got Gamecock Larry, but we got the freshest, purest, earliest, most concentrated version of Gamecock Larry. So we're gonna claim him as ours, just like any friend you have. It's like, no, he was our best friend. I know you thought you was friends with him, but he was really ours.
And we didn't make him wait. We knew the wrath that would be coming. I tried to get to him.
Please don't let him wait to the second segment. Please.
So we got a lot. We got a lot that we're going to do. We're going to go through our show today, and we got a lot that we're going to discuss. But yeah, this is I don't know. We'll come up with something. FYI, I know a lot of people out there are weighing in on the text line. We are having some technical issues with the phone lines this morning. I know some people are trying to call in because you're sending the text, but we're going to see if we can get those fixed. But we got a lot planned. Jen and Preston and I are going to get together. Maybe we'll figure out something, the Gamecock Larry opening segment of the morning or something like that. There's a lot we'll do here as we navigate through the holiday season. And obviously, Jen, I know that you had a friendship you do with his daughter, Tanya. With the family, so we will certainly be in touch with them. But he was someone that truly, I know, meant a lot to me, but meant a lot to you as well, because I said you spoke with him every morning. You were the first one to get his voice,
Right.
and he wasn't waiting to come on air to give his hot take. You got it right off the bat.
He would definitely start in, and again wanted to make sure that you were there, and it was just good morning, and he would usually kind of tell me, I'm not sure exactly what I want to talk about, but I'll talk about something. I'll figure it out. So he didn't always have a plan when he called, but he figured it out by the time you guys were able to actually bring him up. So the mornings are going to be hard. They're definitely going to be different.
Yeah. And sadly, I think the way you just described what he would do is the way we do this show. We don't have a plan. We'll just figure it out when the mics go on.
Exactly. And he just probably had a little extra positivity than maybe sometimes we pop up with.
Yeah. We got to hit a break. Like I said, we'll work. Tyler's working to get the phone lines set up. Jen, I know that you'll be back, and we'll do more of this. As obviously, we want to celebrate Gamecock Larry. He lived an incredible, incredible life, and was a big part of our show, and we appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right,
appreciate it, Jen.
Jen joining us from Illinois this morning. There is obviously it's a morning we're gonna celebrate Gamecock Larry. We're gonna talk some sports, college football playoffs. We'll try and get the phone lines working. A lot to do on a special Friday morning. Hope you're doing well out there. You're listening to the early game.
Let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Road's not too bad as of right now. Don't see anything major going on. Do have an object in the roadway that is going to be at I-20 eastbound at Fair Road. That is exit number 72. But as far as accidents and stuff, everything looking pretty okay for the most part as of right now. Take a look at the weather. 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today is going to get up to 60. 51 tomorrow, 45 Sunday, and then Monday down to 47 as your Christmas week begins. Let's look at your traffic and weather on the early game.
.621 as we will roll through here on a Friday morning. Again, Tyler, we're working to see what we can do about the phone lines. As one texter says, this is Gamecock Larry's final present to us. He has managed to shut balls against the Tigers. The women's basketball team destroyed them. The volleyball team beat them. And, of course, you're well aware by now, the football team took them down. And then on Tuesday night, Preston Thorne, yes, it was those Clemson Tigers that Lamont Paris took down for the second time at Colonial Life Arena.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it then. Tyler and I talked about it. We talked about it since then. Not sure you'll see a better basketball game. Now, there was some fundamental execution errors, but I think that's what makes basketball and sports fun is the sloppiness of it. Yes, it would have been great if they just would have knocked down those free throws at the end of the game and iced it. But guess what? That didn't happen. We got treated to more basketball, more time. And Lamont was on Carolina Calls. He was talking about CMB's performance. And the question I asked you before that game, and you quickly corrected me, and you're right. I asked the question about the women's team, who gets the bucket? And then I switched the question to the men's team, who gets the bucket? And you said, nah, it's easy, CMB. And I think Lamont is talking about this, about who and the performance that CMB had against Clemson.
Of those, I would say we ran the same exact play.
You're right.
I mean, I'm not the smartest guy ever, but I'm no dummy either. And we ran the same exact play. I mean, at least 6 times in a row. And we scored in a variety of ways. Sometimes it was him doing it. Other times it was him. Miles Studi cut to the basket for a layup. That was a big play. He threw it out, and he led us an assist, and he didn't even get the one hockey assist. There was at least one hockey assist where he threw it on the 45 to I can't remember who it was, and then they turned it to the next guy, and he got a wide open three. So he generated a lot of offense for us, that's for sure.
That's going true basketball hands with a hockey reference. He threw it at the 45 and got the second assist, if you will.
But when he said that, I could see it. I see exactly what he's saying. When the double comes, I get it. I understand angles. Who said you would never use geometry, right? You can't play basketball without knowing where's the 45, coach. You're going to have to be able to figure that out. Most importantly about that clip, he does what more coaches should do. You don't need 50 plays. You can have 50 plays, but if this play is working, run it again. Like in college football on the PlayStation, you just hit the triangle button, do it again. You'll see coaches spinning their finger around. Well, why don't coaches do that more often?
Because they overcomplicate things. Because you're right, one play can have a multitude of variations that you and he hit it. And now
I guess maybe it might consider more a set as opposed to a play, maybe, or is it a play? Let's get basketball hands here, Bill.
Yeah. So, without knowing, I've never been to one of Lamont Paris's practices, and we've never really had a chance to sit down and just pick his brain as a person who loves basketball and loves discussing X's and O's because that was more of my background. But you can run a a set. To me, a set is a play. It's a singular play designed to get a particular shot. I go back to Bailey Harris because that's my foundation and that's my roots. And Bailey Harris, we had a particular play that you would run to get a three-pointer at the top of the key for a set player. Somebody might be hot, and we would have a set play designed to get a guy coming from the baseline corner up to the top of the key off of a double screen that was designed, and it was set specifically for that guy to get the shot. You were not to, unless you had a wide-open shot, you were not to deviate from that play. If you did, you better make the shot, or else you found out where the bench was and who was delivering the water that particular game. Now, you can run sets that we would run it. Again, I go back to Lexington, but that kind of where there's a lot of things that can happen. A guy can cut to the basket. A guy can read another player and come off of a ball screen. You can do different things. And I think that's what you hear is it sounds like what Lamont Paris is saying here is the set was get the ball into Colin Murray Boyle's hands in this particular. He's real good. He is very good coming off of that baseline. He made several plays. There's one in particular, and it looks so smooth, and it's early on in the game. He gets one of the Tiger defenders down there, and he drives right and just spins left.
Yes.
I mean, just hits him dead with an easy spin, and it looks
talking about.
It looks so easy, but you get him isolated down there in a one-on-one situation, and now you got four other guys who are reading and reacting to what the Tiger defense or what the defense is going to do, and now it's Colin Murray Boyles. You go make the play, but you're keeping your eyes up and seeing guys around you and what's happening with them.
Yeah, like I said, credit to Lamont and team for recognizing that this is the guy, these are the plays. We don't need to be smarter than just because I get paid money doesn't mean I need to call all the plays. Run it again.
I had one of the coaches when I was doing scouting, and I'd go up down to Orlando and sit there, and we were scouting good players, and it was a coach for Texas. It was Rick Barnes. I guess I can say it doesn't matter, but he said the reason I'm a good coach is because of those guys. And he said because I can draw up the greatest plays in the world, but if I don't have good players to run them, it doesn't matter. And he goes, yeah. I draw up plays to get my best players the ball and let them go make a play. And that's what you got to do. You got to Colin Murray Boyles. And you look at it again to go back to Tuesday night, Preston, with what he's doing. And this is what we expected with Colin Murray Boyles, and it's why he's right now projected as a first-round draft pick and the upcoming, the next June's draft. But he led the team in points, 22. He led the team in rebounds, 9. But to me, the crazy stat, he led the team in assists, 4. And we kind of joked. This is a stat line. This is keeping the guy over there putting the checks busy. 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 3 turnovers, 5 fouls. That's being active in a basketball game.
Absolutely.
And we'll continue to see it. Look, for South Carolina to be successful moving forward in SEC play, you don't have to necessarily get that replication each and every time, but Colin Murray Boyles has to do something similar. He's going to have to do something similar, Tyler and Preston, 18 times over the course of 18 conference games.
Well, if he's a lottery pick, as they've been floating around, that's what lottery picks do.
We'll continue talking about this. Again, 91-88 off of Tuesday night's overtime victory. What a way to go out for Gamecock Larry with an incredible South Carolina basketball victory. It moves them to 8-3 on the season. Reminder, they will have a game tomorrow against Radford, 2 o'clock over at Colonial Life.
I believe it's Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Yep. My days are nowhere near correct for a lot of different reasons. But, yes, you're right. Sunday, 2 o'clock over at Colonial Life Arena for the Gamecocks. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game.
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Still got that object out in the roadway. That is at I-20 eastbound and Farrow Road. That is exit number 72. Just also had a disabled vehicle pop up I-20 eastbound at Alpine Road. That's exit 76B. No major accidents to report on as of right now, though. Hopefully it stays the rest of the rest of the way through the morning as well. Still about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today getting up to 60 with plenty of sunshine. 51 the high tomorrow, 45 on Sunday, and then 47 on Monday as your Christmas week begins. That's look at your traffic and weather on the early game.
.35 on a Friday morning. We'll get to some college football talk. We'll also, Chris Deering coming up in the next hour, Preston, and I know maybe you're not really in the mood to revisit it, but do need to revisit what was a very good weekend of state championships down there in Orangeburg. Unfortunately, your Green Wave just not quite able to pull it off against Tom Knotts and Dutch Fork last Friday.
I have thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to Chris Deering coming up at about 7:15 this morning to kind of recap all that. And if we have time, we'll try and look ahead. The high school basketball season officially off and running. Also off and running is the South Carolina women's basketball team. They had that one loss a couple weeks ago and have rebounded nicely. They've hammered Iowa State, hammered Purdue, beat Duke, hammered TCU, beat up on South Florida, and yesterday, 82-46, Preston, they roll over Charleston Southern. Early game, noon game at Colonial Life Arena, about what you would expect. A little bit of a slow start again. As a matter of fact.
No, a slow start. A slow start. We can't say a little bit of it. It was a slow start.
Well, I was actually trying to be very kind because it was an awful start.
There you go. Yeah,
they were losing. They were losing at the end of the first quarter.
They're women. They can handle it. They're big girls. They can handle them saying it wasn't. No, this is a national championship defending team. It was a slow start. Not kind of, a little.
Also, do we really want to tear down Charleston Southern like that? I mean, they did.
Good for them.
Should we be? That's more of your hometown. I don't know.
They did better than Clemson. So, congratulations to them. Unlike Clemson,
I think actually Clemson might have had the lead. I'd have to go back.
So here we go. Yes, a slow start, not a little bit. Let's treat them like the women they deserve. They're grown, basketball playing, national championship women. It's a slow start. It's unacceptable.
But it's a theme.
Yes, it is.
How do you fix that theme?
That's what Coach Staley gets paid a lot of money for. I don't know. I think that's what they've been trying to figure out. I don't know. One of my favorite concepts when I was doing the show with Pearson, we always had this phrase of when is a thing a thing, and this is becoming a thing.
No, it's a thing now.
And this is when you have to try and figure out what is it about our coaching, what it is about our players, what is it about our design, that they have to be able to figure these things out because, newsflash, the rest of the schedule, or when we get to tournament time, is not going to be Charleston Southern, and you're not just going to be able to turn it on whenever you feel like it.
Is it? And this hasn't happened every game, by the way. Like you just go back to South Florida, they were up 24-12. There have been games where they've gotten off to fast starts. The Iowa State game, obviously, another one. But is it a mental thing? Where do you draw the line as a former player and a coach? So you've been on both sides of it, where a team just mentally does not prepare until they're put into a little bit of a pressure situation, that it's so easy for them that they're like, here we go, another game, that we're so good, we'll just stroll out on the court. And then all of a sudden you get kind of popped in the face and you go, oh, yeah, we got to play. I forgot about that. And now you start running away with them. That's almost what felt like it happened against Clemson, is they knew their dominance. And, again, it's almost what happened yesterday. If you're not aware, they were down 15-11, so it's not like they were getting run out of the building yesterday. But, again, it's Charleston Southern. This is a team that South Carolina should have very little problem with. But they were down 15-11, and quite frankly, even at halftime, the game was 34-26, which they're up 8. And that speaks, by the way, to the greatness of Dawn Staley and what she's done. They were like, they were only up 8 at halftime. But where do you draw the line, Preston, when you see mental versus just X's and O's?
Well, it has to be mental because they clearly poured it on at some point later in these games, and they clearly have the physical skills and traits to get it done against these other teams. So it has to be something mental. And also we know it's mental because it doesn't happen every time.
Right.
It only happens sometimes. So one of the traits of being a pro, one of the traits of being a champion is consistency. And they are inconsistent early in these games. And that is something that their physical traits have allowed it to cover up for them. But that won't be the case forever. And Coach Staley has been trying to tell them, trying to work, trying to tweak certain things, but they have to get that figured out for themselves, or else there's going to be a time when they're not going to be able to dig themselves out of the hole, a la what happened against UCLA.
Well, they get one more, I don't know if I want to say opportunity is the right word, but they have one more game, non-conference. They will get Wofford Sunday after Christmas, December the 29th at 2 p.m. So they get a 10-day break, to which I'm sure they'll go home for a little bit of it, and then you come back, and then you get a practice with Dawn Staley. But starting January 2nd, Thursday, January 2nd, you go into conference play, and you open with back-to-back road games at Missouri and at Mississippi State on a Thursday, and then on a Sunday, Preston. Does that cause them, I think, I don't know if I feel like I'm being overly critical, and maybe that's where you need to snap me back into the right place, but where it snaps them back into the mental mode of we got to prep for every game as if it's the last.
Maybe. That might get them back, but champions don't play to the level of their competition.
Right.
Champions have a standard of which they play with, and this team hasn't demonstrated that they're champions yet. Now, that team was champions last year, but that's not this team, and I think what they have to try and figure out is, do we want to be champions? If we want to be champions, we have to play to a consistent standard. And they haven't been able to do that as of yet.
One other thing just to note, and I don't know what it means, but just kind of throwing stuff out. Now, yesterday, by the way, became a freshie show. Joyce Edwards, freshman, 20 points, 6 rebounds. She leads the team yesterday. Raven Johnson had 9. Sanaya Fagan had 8. Tahina Paupau had 8. Bree Hall had 7. You also had Ashlyn Watkins with 8 points. It was, by the way, aside from Joyce Edwards, very, very balanced scoring. A lot of 8s and 7s here in the boxes. But do you have that leader?
That's the question I asked. Now, I asked it about the gameplay, who gets the bucket, but maybe more so I was asking, who is the person on this team? Who's the person that grabs the team by the reins aside from coach and gets them right? I don't know. Yes, you have a wide array and assortment of talent. All of them are wonderfully talented, but who's the person? I don't know if we have that.
Yeah, because I don't – Raven Johnson's been there for a long time, but at least to me – and I very well could be wrong. I'm not in the locker room and not really familiar with the personalities. But it doesn't feel like she has that personality to be that Aaliyah Boston and even last year the Camila Cardoso. I mean, you think about the line of women that have come through this program, and there is normally one strong individual, as you just said, that can reach over and grab and say, hey, this is our team, this is our program, this is what we're doing, that kind of takes that role off of Dawn Staley. I don't know who that is on this team. I don't know if Tahina Paupau has necessarily gone into that role. I don't know if that's necessarily Chloe Kitts. Chloe Kitts only played 7.5 minutes yesterday, grabbed 1 rebound, did not score. Malaysia Fulwiley, that's not her role. Joyce Edwards is a freshman. Sanaya Fagan, I don't feel like that's her. I don't know who that woman is that steps up for this team and is kind of the Aaliyah Boston that is the voice of the team.
Yeah, and that's what I think we're gonna have to figure it out. There will be playing closer games. There will be times where they'll have to go to a singular person, and maybe not so much as in the games, because again, they're wonderfully talented, but who is the person that gets them together for preparation during practice?
Let's listen real quick. Dawn Staley, this is her yesterday talking about her halftime speech.
Well, I mean, I said a lot, but I mean, I'm not gonna blow my top. I understand where they are and this type of game. I mean, I'm not making excuses for them. But when you know, you know. You just try to fight and get them back to a good place. And I mean, the question mark is, it's just they leave you with a lot of questions. They force us to question, their ability to lock in and be disciplined. They force us, to have questions about, who should play, who shouldn't play, who should, all of these things. And it's just teaching. They're just teaching moments in which I don't know if it goes in one ear and out the other, or if you got to say it another time. in another place for it to really resonate with what we need as a team.
There's a lot there. And number one, it feels like year 2 of saying stuff like that. We'll come back to that. We'll get into that a little bit more. Wrap up hour number 1 when we come back. You're listening to the early game. 6:49 as we get you up and get you going here on a Friday morning, a day of remembrance for our pal, our family member, Gamecock Larry, who, if you have not heard, passed away yesterday and will be missed. He was the way we open the program each and every morning, Preston, to the point. Batting leadoff. Had to get those hot takes in early just in case, and I know you've got your pad every morning. He would come in with some kind of prediction. He would try to get his message, if necessary, to Dabo Sweeney. He would try to get his he would try to get his message to Kirby Smart, who he did not like, to Tennessee fans. One thing that Gamecock Larry, I don't think, believed in, though, the chicken curse, because he never predicted the Gamecocks to lose.
Well, he didn't believe in the chicken curse, but we had a clip here from a podcast that Langston and I did about the 2015 fight with Clemson, where he talked about the origins of the chicken curse. So if you have not heard this, maybe this is your time for your little history lesson from our pal Gamecock Larry.
What I can remember from it, where the chicken curse came from, there was two gentlemen, one from Charleston and one from Greenville. I got to talk slow so I get it right. And one from Greenville. They wanted to establish a university in Spartanburg. Well, naturally, Clemson, they went along with it like they usually do. Anything, well, I ain't going to talk about Clemson. One from Charleston went along with it. But the university didn't want to have it. They wouldn't agree to build one in Spartanburg, to establish one in Spartanburg, because of the Gamecock, Gamecocks not wanting it. Clemson wanted it, and both of the men fought hard to get it, spent a lot of money, but they never did get it. Finally, Gamecocks won out. Gamecock, they established a university in Spartanburg. And they got together, them two gentlemen, and they went and got a bag of chicken bones. And they tied these chicken bones up. And one night, they sneaked onto the horseshoe on the university campus. Well, they dug this hole and buried those chicken bones in that hole. And this old guy from Greenville took his pitchfork and stuck it down in the ground. And the other guy with his shovel, he took it and laid it down on the ground. And they got up, grasped hands and said, from here on out, anything with the Gamecock name or the Gamecock logo on it will be cursed.
Strong.
That was a history lesson, history 101. It should be required. You enter this university, if you wear a uniform, if you have just become a student, you need to be able to play that clip for them so that they understand the what do you call it? The GCPTSD?
I call it SCPSD.
SCPCSD. We have to understand how we got to where we are, and those are the stories that we have to be able to hear. So we were able to get Gamecock Larry to tell that story, and that story will live on and on. We'll play it again later, but if you if you just have lived the chicken curse and you don't know why, that is allegedly the reason as to why the chicken curse exists.
Okay. Now, real quick, Circo, that was exactly what you had that was.
Yeah, that was we did that podcast in 2019 to celebrate or to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the 2004 fight with Clemson, and so it is a 7-part podcast. It's awesome, if I may say so myself. But we had a lot of folks just talking. He was laying the groundwork as to why this was such a rivalry, and obviously it was something that was huge for him, and he sort of talked about why that was a thing.
So the old Gamecock Larry, from yelling at me for missed days to telling us to stay on topic and discuss South Carolina.
Wait. When you say stay on topic, you mean talk about Gamecocks?
Because what was it? We tried to bring up the NFL.
We would be on topic. It's just not the topic that he particularly wanted.
And I think there were times even we would bring up a former Gamecock that is in the NFL, and that he would very quickly say, I don't care about him anymore.
Yeah.
They're no longer a Gamecock.
That's correct.
So not sure. By the way, not sure how he would have felt, kind of going off topic here, about Spencer Rattler, who had a nice little comeback over last weekend.
I believe he referred to him as the Rattler. that was his name for Spencer.
So, we had a lot of good times. And we'll keep people updated on some information for him too as it becomes available. But certainly he will be missed, and a lot of great times with him. A lot of great phone calls in the morning, and. Preston, honestly, going back through your book there, I think he almost nailed some of the final predictions. The Texas A&M game was, I think, the one that stood out to you the most.
I'm going to have to go back and go through these predictions. We'll do that maybe on Monday when we have some more time. Maybe just see how accurate Gamecock Larry was. And he was pretty close on some of them. I know he was dead right on the Texas A&M, I believe.
He was. I think it was 44-17 or 47-20, something like that. So he wasn't far off.
Yeah, he gave the 40 number, and Bill and I, full confession, looked at each other like, okay.
Unfortunately, that happened more often than not with his predictions. I'll miss him. By the way, Spencer Rattler will start Monday night.
The Rattler
against the Packers. Should Derek Carr indeed miss another game with a hand injury, according to the interim head coach there in New Orleans. We'll come back. We'll try to get to Chris Deering next hour. We got a lot to get to. We got to get into some college football playoff discussion.
Is there a game tonight?
There is a game tonight. We'll get to that. You're listening to the early game.
Presser here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if the glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. We say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
All right, let's take another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Still got that object in the roadway out at I-20 eastbound and Fair Road. That is exit number 72. It's to be mindful as you're making your way through that area, as well as the disabled vehicle that is out at I-20 eastbound and Alpine Road, exit number 76B. Other than that, though, no major accidents to report on the highways as of right now. Still sitting at about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. It is going to get up to 60 degrees today with plenty of sunshine that'll last throughout the entire weekend, with highs tomorrow at 51, 45 on Sunday, and then 47 on Monday as your Christmas week begins. That's your look at traffic and weather in the early game.
Seven a.m. as we motor along here on your Friday morning, December the 20th. December the 20th as we get up and get going. A whole new world starts tonight, Preston Thorne. It is the beginning of the 12-team college football playoff. I was trying to think in the break to come back and surprise you a little bit with discussion about a vibe check, how we would feel, what kind of vibe do you, because I wonder, are you the fan, now that we've gone through the regular season, you've seen everything play out, and the disenchantment with the College Football Playoff Committee, South Carolina not getting in despite the six-game win streak, knocking off 4 ranked teams in that thing. Are you fascinated by this? Is it must-see TV tomorrow? Like, have you carved out? We've got a Gunner family Christmas gathering that we're having starting at about 5 o'clock, so I know the TV will be on. We'll be watching it. As I talk myself through what's occurring tomorrow, it has dawned on me that we may have Clemson family members. I wonder if they're aware of this, wandering into the house for this. This has actually just come to, literally has just banged me over the head like a bag of hammers that this could occur. But is it must-view television tomorrow? Tyler, do you view it? I'm like, is this from 12? Because the last game's at 8.
Yeah.
Is it from 12 to 12 tomorrow night? Is it wall-to-wall college football playoff watching?
Oh, 1,000%. My wife, the other day was asking me, hey, what are we doing this weekend? I'm like, watching the college football playoff.
That's sweeter than you telling her, well, woman, you're in the kitchen baking some Christmas goodies, and I'm watching. So you handled that well. Good call.
We can start the Christmas stuff on Sunday, but Saturday, we're locked in.
I can tell you handled it well. No black eyes over there for you, telling her. What about you, Preston? Is it wall-to-wall college football playoff tomorrow viewing?
It'll be on. It'll be as I'm moving around, walking, doing whatever. It'll be on. I'll be watching intermittently. But again, I watch these games a little bit differently, so I won't be standing in my normal spot for like I watch Gamecock games.
Right.
It'll be a little bit more of a casual. It'll be like a hang. We'll just be hanging all day, and I'll be watching games.
So are we all Texas fans tomorrow? Like, is that just a given? Do we have to root for Texas? Like, as painful as it is, they're playing Clemson.
Here's the thing. I feel like somehow or another in my Gamecock brain, if we beat Clemson, Clemson beats Texas, then we're better than Texas, right?
Fair.
Also, I don't like the idea of Texas just waltzing into the SEC and calling themselves king.
That's tough.
I don't like that. So I'm in a little bit of a dilemma, but I understand your point.
Okay, 2 things. Number 1, yes, we're all Texas fans. There is nothing I'm telling you, and I feel like I've seen this script play out. You played the chicken curse clip from Gamecock Larry there, but it would feel very inappropriate while also being appropriate that we beat Clemson. We celebrate. We beat them at Memorial Stadium. 2-2 in the last 4, and yet they beat Texas, they beat Arizona State, and they're playing one game away from going to the national championship. It does feel like that is something that is very South Carolina-esque. However, and this should be, if I'm a Clemson fan, I'm just like, if you think for a second, Gamecock, that wind is going to be blowing all kinds of directions at that state. There's going to be odd things that happen. Gamecock Larry is going to have his fingerprints all over a Texas victory tomorrow.
That's possible. That's very, very possible. In the battle of oranges, who has the worst orange? Clemson or actually, there's 3 orange teams in this thing. Maybe 4 if you count Arizona State. I don't know what they're doing.
Nah, there's no orange.
That's desert. Really quick depth chart of oranges.
Ooh.
Clemson, Tennessee, and Texas.
I despise all oranges.
I feel you.
I guess burnt orange isn't as bad. I hate like fluorescent orange is really off-putting to me. So like the Clemson orange, the Tennessee orange, which are a little bit different, but they're brighter shades of orange than like burnt orange. So if I had to take an orange, I guess it would be burnt orange.
Yeah, I can dig it. Bill?
I don't want to say.
Okay, all right. You can plead the fifth. It is America. You can plead the fifth. You don't
I'll
have
just
to,
say this.
don't incriminate yourself. It's fine.
I actually don't like the Texas orange.
You don't like Texas
the
orange?
most. I actually don't like the Texas, but I would rather.
And don't incriminate yourself.
Yeah,
I will say this. Tennessee has the least impressive looking orange in person. It's very dull. It's very flat.
I was going to say Tennessee's
Very
is
flat.
Tennessee's
I
is
think
more
you have to grow
annoying.
up with that to love it. But when I remember distinctly seeing it and being like, it's kind of bleh.
Here, I'll do this for you. Texas's orange, I think, is the worst. The burnt orange is the worst. I think Tennessee's is the most annoying. It's just obnoxious. The Clemson orange is just flat out ugly.
Gotcha.
There.
Fair.
That's the
That's
best
fair.
way I can do that. Speaking of which, all right, game tonight. So if I was to ask you in terms of interest, in terms of viewing interest, how would you rank these 4 games?
Okay.
If you got to get something done, let's just pretend for a second they're on. You got to get something done. Which game are you most willing to not watch?
Which one? Oh, that's a good. I like that. I like that framing. The one that I'm most willing to not watch is probably SMU Penn State.
I'm with you on that.
Probably for me.
Tyler, you going down that path too?
Yeah, probably. No matter how competitive the game's going to be tonight between Indiana and Notre Dame, just watching a game at Notre Dame Stadium is so picturesque and perfect. I love the fact that we're starting the playoffs with this because it just like feels right, and I want that viewing experience. But yeah, if I had to put one to the side, it'd probably be Penn State and SMU.
Is that because of SMU?
I don't know.
By the way, I'm looking up the weather in South Bend, Indiana for tonight. I want to see what it is. Ooh, this is going to be fun. See, this is another part of it. Right now, it says my weather app. Good morning. Good morning to you, weather app. It's 32 degrees with snow in South Bend. That makes it more. Give me a playoff game with snow.
This is a whole nother path to go down. I don't know.
Snow showers will continue to develop this morning over northern Indiana and far southern lower Michigan, west of Interstate 69, whatever that.
I hear you get. It's cool. There's a novelty factor of it, but is that the football that we've been playing all year? Do we want the college football playoff to come down to an elements game?
But you have 2 teams from the same state, so
Agreed.
it's not going to be a disadvantage. And I loved Kurt Signetti. So Curtis Rourke, the quarterback, he's from Ontario.
I heard him say
and
that.
And Signetti's like, I hope it snows a foot.
Yeah.
He's from Ontario. He can handle it.
Right.
Snow likely to end around 9:45 this morning, so I don't know if they'll have snow in the game, but the field will. It's cold. It's going to be cold. That makes it intriguing.
It makes it intriguing. There was a clip going around with Kyler Murray. He was talking about the snow game, about how cold it was, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about the snow." And he was like, "How cold is it going to be?" And the reporter said 35. And he said a word that we can't say on the radio. But newsflash, Kyler, 35 is not cold, considering what it could be. So, I personally would not want temperature is one thing, but rain, snow, whatever, I don't want that to decide the CFP.
It's going to be interesting because, if I was to rank, SMU Penn State is the one that I would lead, and that's kind of interesting because it's the noon game tomorrow. So it's kind of like if you got to get Christmas shopping done, if you've got something that needs to be done this weekend, it's kind of like get it done between then. Maybe check in on your phone or stop and look at some stuff real quick and see what's going on, but you're not fully involved. But then on the flip side of that, there's something about SMU that just bothered me at watching them in the ACC championship game that I just don't want to see them play again.
You don't feel like they belong?
I don't. And this isn't a South Carolina rant. Like, yes, I would love to see, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see South Carolina in it. But, yeah, I kind of feel like it should have been Alabama or Mississippi. SMU just...
I was going to say, this is where we get to the debate of best versus most deserving, because what SMU did deserved a spot in the playoff, but in terms of like who would actually win on the field, I think most people would probably agree, yeah, Alabama's probably the better team at the end of the day and would have been more competitive in the spot. But again, SMU earned their spot, and we'll see what happens. They're kind of probably playing with the house money mentality because, hey, nobody thought we're going to be here. Let's go out there and throw the kitchen sink at it. So I think that's exciting. And again, Big Game James always blows it in these situations. So who's to say they can't do it again?
And we'll get to this because, Preston, you're not a James Franklin fan to begin with, but it feels like he had some really, really weird rants yesterday on press conferences about home field advantage and the playoff that we'll get to later on in this hour. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that game kind of all plays out. I will say the game I am most intrigued to watch, the game that I do not simply want to miss, is Tennessee Ohio State. That feels like what this college football playoff was built to be. This kind of game. Two really good teams, and our good buddy, and I've just checked with him, Rock Lucas, Charwood Golf Club owner, our good buddy who has us out for our golf tournaments, and Saki of Saki's Wine and Spirits, who's taking care of us. And I think if we can get our phone lines working, he wants to give you an Ohio State versus SEC rant later on this morning. But they're heading up, they're driving up, they're going up to Columbus, they're driving up this morning. That's the game that, like, to me, signifies the playoff more than anything else. Tennessee and Ohio State. SEC going into a Big Ten school, two teams that I think can win the national championship. To me, that is what the playoff was meant to be. Not that the others aren't. It's just something about that game I'm really excited to see.
I agree, and I hope the fans in Ohio State are ready for an SEC fan base to invade their territory, because I know they play in the hostile Big Ten. I'm not sure they're ready for those folks from the mountains to get up to Columbus. I'm going to be interested in how that goes.
I believe Tennessee has also done some kind of ninja defense and gone in and gotten a bunch of tickets. Like they're already starting to call it Neyland North.
Nice.
So the shoe tomorrow might be filled with crazy Tennessee fans, but those will certainly be a lot of fun. 803-404-6100. How are we looking with Deering?
We're going to attempt it. We'll give it a shot.
We're going to attempt it. We're going to attempt it. We got a kind of a workaround. We're going to get to him. Preston's got some thoughts. We kind of revisit last weekend's state championship weekend for a segment with Chris Deering coming up next. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Now, thankfully, we are here in the Midlands. It's going to be cold next week. It is going to be cold, but good grief, you just heard me describing South Bend, Columbus weather, South Bend in Indiana, Columbus, Ohio for these playoff games. Trust me, those days are coming for us. We're going to have some really cold ones. Is your heating and air unit working properly, especially the heating portion of that? Well, if not, and if your heating and air unit is pretty old and you think it might be the oldest one in the Midlands, it's time for you to enter into AAA Heating and Air's My Oldest Air contest. That's right. Just go over to myoldAir.com, complete the online entry form, and for every 100 entries, AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random. You could win a brand new heating and air unit. Just go to myoldAir.com, fill out the entry form on their website, and you could be the lucky winner of a brand new heating and air unit. Contest is for a limited time only. Only residents in the AAA Heating and Air service area are eligible to enter. See contest rules on their website for.
And time for another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Things starting to pick up a little bit out there on the roadways. Do have an accident out at Broad River Road and Woodrow Street, just outside of I-26. Be careful if you're going through that area. Another accident at Killian Road and Wilson Boulevard, and another one at Clemson Road between Hardscrabble and Longtown Road, as well as one more on George Rogers Boulevard right there at Shop Roads. Be careful as you're making your way through those areas. Still about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today going to get up to 60 with plenty of sunshine. High tomorrow 51, 45 on Sunday, and 47 on Monday. That's traffic and weather on the early game.
7:18 as we roll along, as we do each and every Friday, with the high school highlights of the week here. And joining us fresh off state championship weekend, Chris Deering, back to kind of recap everything, Chris, as it was an interesting season. Big picture, real quick, your big picture thoughts on the season that we just had overall.
Big picture, I think we got to go with a lot of teams that we expected to be here at the end of the season ended up being there. Dutch Fork, again, ran through an undefeated season. One of the best defenses I've seen in my time covering high school athletics. They ended up giving up, I think, 94 points on the season. Not too bad for a 13-game run. And then, Westside back again, won a state championship. Abbeville won in 1A. Some of the things we expected. And Westside did not win. Westside got beat by South Florence, and probably one of the best state championship games I've seen. We were talking in the press box on Saturday after that game Friday night. I think I've seen over 100 state championship games in my time covering, and that's probably in the top 2 or 3 that I've ever witnessed. But South Florence won. Like I said, Abbeville won. Just some of the teams that we expected to be there at the end were there, and we going into the off season with some teams. They got to reshuffle some things. They had a lot of seniors. Dutch Fork had a lot of seniors. Abbeville had a lot of seniors. So let's see if they can reload and reset for next year and do it again.
Well, let's set up Preston Thorne here. Dutch Fork, Somerville. It was probably what everybody wanted. You get the Midlands, you get the Low Country, and Preston, your team just didn't quite have enough.
Yeah, they played a great game. It was an awesome game. Obviously, I've been unequivocal in saying that Tom Knotts is the modern GOAT of high school football, but it was a tremendous outing. I think Somerville might have been able to put up a little bit more of a fight. I believe the quarterback got hurt in the second quarter. That kind of took a little bit of wind out of his sails. But aside from that, tremendous game. But also, man, what an environment it was. It was awesome to see both of the towns out there sitting on the Somerville side, seeing old teammates, seeing teachers, people from the town. And it was a really, really cool event. Chris, you always talk about seeing all these state championships. But just seeing all of that green and gold, man, it was amazing. It was an awesome time. Kudos to them. I know the high school league took a lot of flack, and I think there's some things that they can do better. But for the event that they pulled off, I thought it was excellent.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. It was a great weekend. I talked to members of the high school league several times over the weekend. They are aware of some things that can be done better, but I thought overall it was a great weekend for high school. It really, I thought, showcased high school football in the state. There are a couple of glitches along the way, but I can't really sit here and complain about much from a media standpoint. Now, I wasn't sitting in the stands, but looking at all 6 games, I was there for all 6 games, and the crowds were really great. It was, some of it really turned out, I thought, Preston. That was a really huge crowd. And it was a great game. And, Jaden Cummings, like you said, got hurt right there. It was the end of the first quarter, last minute of the first quarter when he went down. And I actually was standing right there when it happened. And I think his foot just got caught in the turf, honestly. It was a clean hit by Riley Salters, and I think his foot just got caught in the turf. Very unfortunate. I actually talked to Cummings on the sideline after the fact. Great young man. I hate that he ended his career like that, but he's got bigger and better things ahead of him. But it was a great game. I thought Dutch Fork, they had it under control, I felt like. But one thing Tom Knotts does, and I'm not criticizing in any way, shape, or form, because that man's won way more football games than I ever thought about. But when things don't go his way sometimes, he gets a little antsy and tries to go for the big play. And I thought he got away from some of the things he did all season. But in the end, they come up with a 35-21 victory. And the guy that came in for Cummings, I thought he played really well, Cooper Kafina. I thought he was slung it around the yard pretty good. And then their wide receiver, Kelly Murray, is one of the best I've seen, and he's only a sophomore. That kid's got a really bright future ahead of him. Tom Knott said after the game, we not only see that kid playing on Saturday, he's going to be playing on Sundays.
Let's go to the Division II 5A game. Really good win. Irma, just a great game against Northwestern. Northwestern gets the job done 34-31.
Yeah, went down to the final play of the game. Couldn't ask for anything better to cap the weekend off. That was a Saturday night game. And I'm just going to say one thing. A.J. Brand, I've seen the kid play since he got here at Irmo, football and basketball. He's a dude, okay? He is state, if not the best. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year. He willed that team to stay in it. I thought that was a really great game. They scored with, a little over a minute to go. Gave Northwestern a little bit too much time on the clock. Finley Polk, their quarterback, drove them right down the field, got within field goal range, and final play of the game, they kick a 27-yarder to win it. Just a fantastic high school game. Happy for the coach at Northwestern, Paige Walford. Like I said, I played for his dad at Berkeley. The whole Walford family was there. Talked to a lot of them, know a lot of them. So it was good to see Paige get a championship. But again, A.J. Brand and Coach Brand, if you guys are listening out there, it was a pleasure to cover A.J. What a great young man, and I'm looking forward to him doing great things at Virginia Tech.
As good as that one might have been, West Side and South Florence. Jaden Sellers was a monster. Cutter Woods was a monster, and it's 42-41. The Bruins take home another state championship.
I talked to Jaden Sellers after the game, and I said, the most amazing thing was when you guys passed the ball, everybody in the stadium knew it was going to Jaden Sellers, and he still was making plays. That was fun to watch. I think he had 7 catches, 121 yards. And you just look at the stat book from that game. It was just amazing. Westside only had the ball for 9 minutes and 15 seconds. South Florence had it for 38 minutes and 45 seconds. So just a contrast in styles. Cutter Woods did not disappoint. 6 touchdown passes. And I just got to give the yardage on these touchdown passes. 38, 74, 69, 74, 56, and 50. I mean, that's just amazing, the performance he had. 411 yards passing. He only had the ball, like I said, 9 minutes. He completed 11 passes, 6 of them went for touchdowns, and just an absolutely fantastic performance. But South Florence, they ran the football. It was good to watch. West Side scores was minute 52 to go to get to within 42-41. And the head scratcher that everybody talked about afterwards, they went for 2, which I was okay with going for 2 at that point. But you took the ball out of Cutter Wood's hands. He's the best player on the field at that point, and he does not get the ball on the 2-point conversion and run a double reverse pass. Tried to throw it to him, actually, but I'm keeping the ball in Cutter Wood's hands and letting him do what he does.
It's going to be exciting to see what he does at the University of South Carolina, be competing kind of with Dante Reno. Obviously, we know Lenore Sellers is the quarterback as long as he is at the university. But moving forward, I think the quarterback situation for Mike Shula and Shane Beamer in good hands there with Reno and then Cutter Woods coming in. Let's skip down to the 2A level for a second. I got to be an honorary warhorse. Barnwell, Coach Smith accepted me in. I went to one of their practices there. They don't quite get the job done. Clinton goes in and 35-6. Again, I always hope I'm saying that correctly. It's Clinton, but I believe we call it Clinton. 35-6. The Red Devils just run their way to another state championship.
Yeah, maybe Barnwell knows what happened now. They made you an honorary warhorse.
They were not, man. I had a blast with them. There's a million great people I met, and they'll be back. They're not going anywhere. They'll be back.
Yeah, that was, as far as atmospheres go, that was really a great one. The Clinton sideline, they were on the visitors' side. I thought they had the largest crowd of the weekend on the visitors' side. It was hard to judge on the home side because it's so much larger. But for the visitor side, I thought they had the largest crowd of the weekend. And, they talked about doing it for the community and doing it for, each other. And that was good to see. They hadn't won it in a while. It was over 20 years since they won it last. And just good to see them back. And Barnwell was really good. They ran the kickoff back after giving up a touchdown. I thought we were in for a shootout. And then that Clinton defense was just really outstanding, I thought, all day long. And they couldn't get anything sustained going. And then the running back for Clinton, Javon Cook, went for 4 touchdowns. Again, we had outstanding performances all over the weekend and in every game. And I thought he had one of the better ones as well.
1A, Abbeville, the powerhouse that is Abbeville. And another Gamecock commitment. Got about 30 seconds here, but DeMarcus Leach with a very good day.
Leach is going to be a good player for South Carolina in the secondary. I think, he played quarterback for that Abbeville team, but he's going to play probably safety, nickel for South Carolina. I thought he was fantastic. Talking to him after the game, he's looking forward to getting to South Carolina, and just he's going to be I think he's going to be a very good contributor in that secondary in the future.
Chris, we always appreciate it. We will give you next Friday off. You deserve Christmas break off, but we come back, it'll be basketball season, and we'll get more into that.
Sounds good. Y'all guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and talk to y'all soon.
Take care. Chris Deering joining us for the high school highlights of the week as he does each and every Friday. And that puts a bow on the 2024 South Carolina high school football season. So we'll maybe get a few thoughts from Preston Thorne later on, just kind of as we move forward. But we will go back to the college football playoff. Ryan Day and James Franklin. Who needs it more? Preston Thorne discusses. You listen. It's the early game.
Let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride-in on this Friday morning as things are getting a little bit busier out there on the roadway. Still some of those same accidents to report on from earlier. One at Broad River Road and Woodrow Street. Be careful as you make your way through there. Another one at Killian Road and Wilson Boulevard, as well as Clemson Road between Hardscrabble Road and Longtown Road. And in closer to the city, you got George Rogers Boulevard and Shop Road. Another accident there as well. Taking a look at your weather. Still about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today getting up to 60 with plenty of sunshine. 51 tomorrow, 45 on Sunday, and 47 on Monday to start your Christmas week. That's your traffic and weather on the early game.
When you know, it's like 1 week, okay, that's one thing, you know. A month, you know, there's another challenge with that. 3 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. It allowed us the week to sort through, you know, the issues and get them addressed, take accountability, because that's the big part of that. Like, nothing matters if the problems aren't fixed, and then we don't make adjustments. That's what it comes down to. And then the recognition that, okay, we're in the playoffs now. Like, that game's behind us. The game is never going to change. It's never going to change here at Ohio State. However, like the playoffs have, the expanded playoffs have, the format has. This is very different than it's been in the past. So, all right, you know, we're in this thing, and now we got 2 weeks to prepare. So I think that part's been good, you know, and that's kind of been the layout.
That is the voice of one Ryan Day, whom, I don't know if you two saw this, Harry Douglas with ESPN says has to win the national championship to save his job.
That's why Harry's on ESPN. he took our bit and just took it to the max. I don't agree with that. However, Ryan Day, if you lose this game, you might be packing. So I think there's some space. Tyler, you think there's some space in between what Harry said and what I said?
I think so, yeah. If you get bounced in the first round, especially coming off that loss to Michigan, there's going to be conversations. Again, Ryan Day was born on third base. He was handed the keys to the Ferrari by Urban Meyer, and he made one national championship in the COVID year, but since then has underperformed given what that roster is, especially this year.
And not only has he underperformed, he's lost to Michigan.
Yes. 4 years in a row.
4 years in a row. And you know, 2 years ago they lost to Michigan, rebounded and played a great game against Georgia. Probably should have won that game. Ended up coming up just short of making the national championship. But that was a Michigan team that was really good and was also in the playoff. This year's Michigan team was not good. They were a 500 team that couldn't throw a forward pass to save their life, and you still lost to them.
And Sharon Moore. It's one thing to lose to Jim Harbaugh.
In your own house, no less.
And as we've experienced here, it's one thing to lose to your rival. It's another thing to watch your rival ascend,
yes,
and win that national championship while you're right there. I think that was part of the pain that we felt for a while here when that other team upstate was winning. It was like, okay, when they were winning 10 games, and it was like, whatever. You know, we were still beating them. Whatever, they could have that success. But when we started losing to them and they started winning natties, that's tough to swallow.
Well, the other part of that is it felt like Michigan went all in with Jim Harbaugh. It was just, I mean, look, whatever happened, Connor Stallions cheating, well, I don't know. But it felt like Michigan was like, we're going to do whatever it takes to win a national championship, and it worked. Ohio State just said, we're going to do whatever it takes to buy a national championship, and it doesn't feel like it's working. Like, that's the highest roster. I think that's the highest $20 million roster, essentially.
As far as we know, yes.
That's the number.
As far as we know.
That's the number that keeps getting thrown out there. Also, they have, I think, Ryan Day and Chip Kelly in the same boat, where Chip Kelly was a thing a long time ago. But what difference has that been? I mean, they've been fine. They've been solid. They've been good. But, okay, when it came down to it, Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator somehow or some other decided, hey, I have all of this speed that I have, but we're going to be tougher than Michigan, and that backfired against them. So I don't know. I would say something short of a natty, he's fine.
I go back to the trance that Ryan Day was in after that game happened when the fight was taking place, and he looked like he was completely checked out, not even aware it was happening. And well, what happened? What's going on? Like that's worth something to me. Like that loss clearly affected him deeply. And again, it's been a couple weeks now. He knows.
He knows what it means. He knew what it meant. I don't mind. Ryan Day is annoyingly plain.
Yes.
Right? Like, annoyingly plain. Like, he doesn't say anything. He did go on that weird rant.
The Lou Holtz rant?
The Lou Holtz rant. But he's annoyingly plain. And he wins. He wins a lot.
Well, I think,
but he knows he's not winning the big ones.
Yeah, he knows he is not Urban Meyer. He knows he's not Jim Harbaugh. Again, he's got the talented roster and he's got all the resources in the world to be that successful, but he's not been able to do it yet. And I think
he's not Jim Tressel.
I think that keeps him up at night.
Definitely not Tress. I mean, Tress won at several levels. The reason why Tress got there is because he won at Youngstown State, and he's been. I'm gonna say, like, do we know if Ryan Day is a great coach? He's not a great.
No,
coach.
we don't know.
Do we know if he's a good coach?
I think so.
We can say that he's a good coach, but do you think if you drop Ryan Day off, let's make this personal to you. Do you say if Georgia would have hired Ryan Day at the time when they hired Kirby, do you think that Georgia would be there?
You gonna say something?
Ryan Day or Mark Richt?
Ooh. I'd probably still go with Mark Richt, to be honest with you.
He's Georgia's Mark Richt?
Yeah, and so like when they moved on from Mark Richt and hired Kirby Smart, the program was in a good place. They're winning 9-10 games every single year. They needed somebody that was going to elevate it to the next level. Now, you were taking a chance on a guy that had never been a head coach before. It ended up working out. Again, Ohio State was already here with Urban Meyer. They won the national championship, or routinely in the playoff, that kind of stuff. And he basically handed it to Ryan Day and said, okay, keep it here. Which, again, they've kept it around there. They've made the playoffs, but they've not been able to get back to that same level of winning the national championship again. And, again, the losses to Michigan, the loss to Michigan this year, it doesn't seem like they're ever going to get back over that hump with him.
I'll also just throw this out there. The SEC and the Big Ten are two superpowers. They're two superpowers, and they're begrudgingly working together right now, right? It's an uneasy kind of like, all right, we're watching you, you're watching us, but we're working together because we know that we're the superpowers and we know that we control college football. You look at this bracket. It's the only matchup this weekend of SEC Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And honestly, if you look at it, you get another one. If Tennessee wins, you get another one there with them. But hey, because I think, by the way, I'm picking Notre Dame. We'll do some picks here later in the program. I'm picking Notre Dame. Indiana could play Georgia in the second round too. But it does feel like the whole Big Ten's looking at Ryan Day right now in Ohio State like, hey, you better uphold your end of the bargain for our program. You got for our conference. Well, you got the home game. You got the weather you want. You need to uphold against that SEC team that's coming in here.
Well, and besides Oregon, Ohio State's really the only other Big Ten team anybody feels like would have a chance. Because, again, Penn State, we know they're eventually going to trip up because James Franklin can't win big games. Indiana, great story. I don't see them outside of maybe beating Indiana tonight. I don't see them going very far in this thing. So as far as teams that have the talent necessary to win a national championship, Oregon and Ohio State both have that. But if Ohio State gets bounced, Oregon's the last bullet in the chamber, it seems like.
And also, let's be clear, nobody really thinks of Oregon as a Big Ten team yet.
You're true.
Right. We haven't made it there yet. Yeah. So Ohio State is still the team. And if they lose to a SEC team, that might be rough on them.
803-404-6100. If you want to text in, our phone line's still a little screwy this morning, so we cannot able to take phone calls. Texter weighs in. Ryan Day is the dollar store James Franklin. Ooh, don't worry. We're going to get to James Franklin. James Franklin's time is coming on this program as well. I got a side bet for you that I will read to you off air if you're willing to accept it. Okay. We'll mention it on air. As we were talking about Georgia, Mark Richt and Ryan Day are one and the same.
Yeah, they're very, very similar.
That's who it is. 803-404-6100. We'll wrap up hour 2 when we come back. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Mid-State Roofing has been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the reason for that, they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So even when you're not thinking about it, Mid-State Roofing is, and they are ready to help you. Again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 7:46 here on a Friday morning. If you've discovered a leak, you can call Mid-State Roofing, and they'll take a peek. They'll help you with a maintenance contract. They'll have somebody ready to take that phone call and help you with a maintenance contract, whether it's an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, Charleston, wherever you may be, call Mid-State Roofing for your roofing needs. Home or business, they want to keep your operation dry and running long into the future. 803-356-1919. Again, that phone number, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. $7:49 as we roll along here on your Friday morning, where we've honoring Gamecock Larry. We'll get back into that a little bit in the next hour, and I think we may have. I know Jen has, when she is back, some clips, some phone calls from him, some of his best material. Dabo. He would go after old Dabo, and we'll miss him. We'll miss him dearly, but we will never forget him, and we will continue to honor him, not just today, but for a long, long time. We will honor Gamecock Larry, who was a huge part of our show, and as Preston said,
he's ours.
He's ours. Sorry, Tyler.
I know he called into every other show.
He didn't call us every single day.
Right.
He called y'all every single day.
I know he called into every other show when he was around, but he's much like one of my teammates, Jamacia Jackson, who passed away. You felt like he was your best friend.
Right.
And everybody felt that way. So Gamecock Larry was ours because he called us in the morning.
Yeah.
We shared him with everybody else.
So we will obviously continue to honor him, and Jen has got some clips of him making predictions, him getting on me, all kinds of fun stuff, and we'll even talk more about it next hour, but certainly our thoughts and prayers with him, with his family, with everybody. But he is a man that will be honored. Incredible life, and glad to say he was ours, glad to say he was part of our family. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in. Phone line's not working. He would be yelling about that, by the way.
For sure.
He would be we all kind of have a joke now that he may have figured out how to shut down the phone lines.
I was going to say, if he can't call in, nobody can call in.
That's right. That's right. He doesn't want to hear from any Taters or Bulldogs going into playoff weekend, so he's just shut the phone lines down. Last night, guys, I'll admit, with college football playoff coming up, I went into a little bit of a Christmas movie kind of holiday thing. So I did not watch the NFL game. I did not watch the Chargers game last night against the Broncos. So this morning, as we're listening to the Sports Minute, they mentioned, I'm not even sure what this is.
I can explain it to you.
All right, let's play the clip real quick. Here is the clip from last night's game.
So Dicker, 3 years now, solving Charger kicking woes for several years prior to that. Can he bang it through? On its way. It is. Yep.
Made history tonight.
Yes. There you go.
Okay. Who do we start? I'm going to sit back. I don't know. I'm going to have to pull the video up on my computer, but press Tyler going to give us the explanation.
So this was right before halftime. The Broncos punted the ball to the Chargers as time was expiring. Punt returner, wait for a fair catch. Now, it was on their side of the field. There was a penalty that ended up pushing the ball to midfield. When you fair catch at the end of a half, where there's no time on the clock, you get an untimed down. Now, you have the option. You could go sling the ball to the end zone for a Hail Mary if you want to, or if you're within range, you can opt for a free kick field goal. Now, this is not like a regular field goal where you're lining up and you're going to have 11 guys rushing at you. It's lined up like a kickoff formation. You do have a holder, but you don't have any pass rush coming or a kick rush coming at you. So essentially, you're kicking off of like a tee for a free field goal try before halftime. Again, had not been done since 1976, and very rarely do you have, because usually, like, okay, if there's a couple seconds left for the end of half or the end of the game, you'll take a snap. You'll just try and run the clock out, right? You may run out of bounds or may fling the ball away, but typically teams are trying to run the clock out. They usually don't punt in that situation. About 8 seconds left when that punt got off, but enough time to get it off. Fair catch was made, and yeah, Jim Harbaugh, knowing the rule book, exploited it and ended up being pretty pivotal in a 7-point game.
And Bill, if you played for John McKissick in the early 90s and the late 90s, you would have known this too, because every Thursday we would have to go through this routine of what's going to happen if we fair catch the punt and we get a free kick. We would do that. This was our situational process. Right. We would do that, and then we would also practice taking a safety. And we do this every Thursday, and we're like, this is never going to happen. And to be fair, it never does happen. But when this started, when it happened, I was like, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. Because this was programmed into my brain.
This is the equivalent of never throwing away wires and keeping them in that box in your closet. Like, well, I'm probably never, ever going to use any of these again. But the one time you do, you feel so accomplished knowing that you held on to it, right?
We practiced this every single Thursday. It was part of the deal. Take a safety and free kick. And here you go. Maybe sometime since 1976, I'm sure John McKissick was watching the game, and it's going to happen one day. One day we're going to have to do this. So shout out to you, Coach McKissick. Rest in peace. It happened.
So there was a kick-catch interference on the Broncos that then moved the ball into relatively decent field goal kicking range, 57 yards, which now is becoming about the norm for NFL kickers.
What's up with that, man?
Yeah, you might. I don't know if this makes thorns on them, but yeah, field goal kickers, like, it's like if they're 60 and in, you're like, no problem whatsoever. And yes, as I watched the video, they're lined up as Tyler explained properly.
Great explanation, Tyler.
Yeah, fantastic. They're lined up as if they're kicking off, which everybody's lined up, and then but you there's a holder there, and he rips it through into the back of the net. To be honest, would have been good from about 62. And then strolls off the field like he's the man.
Well, it's a lot easier to make a kick when you don't have 11 guys bearing down on you.
It's very true. It's very true.
Jim Harbaugh is very satisfied with himself. That's probably his highlight of his year.
Big glass of milk right after the game.
National championship, free kick execution.
Free kick execution.
Right on his high level of accomplishment.
Chargers, by the way, would rally to win that ball game 34-27 last night.
Don't look. They're in the hunt.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Hour 3 on the way.
All right, let's take another peek on the roadways, see what's happening on your ride in on this Friday morning. Have an accident, Broad River Road and Woodrow Street, just outside I-26. Be careful as you're going through there. Another accident on I-26 westbound, that is at St. Andrews Road, exit number 106, as well as an accident at Bush River Road and Broad River Road as well. Taking a peek at your weather for the day. Still sitting around 50 degrees. Clouds have rolled in here in downtown Columbia. High today is going to get up to 60 with plenty of sunshine. High tomorrow 51, 45 on Sunday, 47 on Monday to start your Christmas week. It's traffic and weather here on the early game.
$8 a.m. as we will wrap up our Friday morning edition. Scheduling note, we will be back on Monday. I believe Jen is in with us on Monday. If I know the schedule, we're all kind of days of Tyler looks at me, I don't know.
I'm not here next week, so that's
Tyler's look on his face. I don't know either. So yeah, we will. Preston and I'll be here. You're here, right?
I'm here.
Okay, we'll be here on.
You might have to learn to run the board yourself.
Yeah. Okay. We'll figure it out. Somebody will be in there. I think Jen's back. I think Jen is back, and if so, we will definitely have some of Gamecock Larry's greatest phone calls, Preston, that we will get to, and continue to remember him and laugh at some of the things he said to us. Stayed on our case. Co-producer with Jen, if you will. And again, if you're just tuning in and you just kind of missed it, unfortunate news yesterday. Gamecock Larry passing, I believe, the age of 93. I think this has been debated a little bit.
That makes it even better.
I believe that's what the state had in their story about him yesterday.
Okay, and that could actually be my fault because Lou Bijak texted me and I said 93. I thought it was 93. Jen thinks it was 90.
I thought it was 90 personally. I think
it might be 90.
Had his
That's
90th
perfect.
birthday earlier on this year.
That makes it even better.
It's like my grandparents years ago. They threw them like their 57th and at first 57th marriage anniversary, only for them to realize that the year prior they had celebrated year 58.
Oh.
It backed it up a year. But Gamecock.
I said time. It's a social construct, man. Who knows?
So Gamecock Larry passing, though, yesterday. And again, we opened the show thinking about him. Jen joined us. She's up in Chicago with family for now, and she'll be back, I believe, over the weekend. But certainly our thoughts and prayers with his family and everybody involved there. He will be missed. We will miss it. He was a good way for us to start the program each and every morning, Preston. A great way for us to start the program.
And a consistent way for us to start the program. The program didn't start nor end of the first segment until we got in Gamecock Larry's prediction. And my favorite thing about Gamecock Larry was that he understood radio. He'd give us a midweek rant, but never to give you the prediction on Wednesday. Right? He'd be like, I got my prediction coming a little bit later. And he just string you along throughout the week. He might talk a little bit about what's happening, but he would wait till Friday for that big prediction. He would always land it.
Dr. Bulldog and I believe Rude Hog weigh in that he was 90, and Dr. Bulldog says because he went to Gamecock Larry's 90th birthday party a few months ago.
Nice. That's what I thought. I thought he had his 90th birthday earlier on this year.
That makes it, makes the legend grow even more.
That's right.
How old was he?
Who knows?
He's old as time.
He was as old as you want him to believe him to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, again, he was, as you mentioned, he knew. he'd save that prediction till Friday, make sure he had all he did for all the joking he would make. He did have a notepad, and he would have it right there, and he would keep his notes throughout the week. And boy, he would keep track of what I or you said as well, and revisit it if it was something that was inaccurate.
Yeah, I forgot what my first take that he called me on. I was like, oh, dang, glad he's actually paying attention. I didn't think he was actually listening to what I said. And he pulled me to the corner. Hey, Patrick, what's going on here?
Yeah. So again, we will laugh and remember him. I see a lot of you weighing in on the text line. Sammy, a Clemson fan, says, "Hate to hear about Gamecock, Larry. I'm never okay with losing to South Carolina, but I'm sure the last few weeks were a thrill for him, and I'm good with that. Prayers to his family and friends." And again, a lot of you out there weighing in, and we appreciate it. I know some people had gotten together here in the last week and sent him a bunch of Christmas cards, and I saw some pictures on social media that I believe his daughter took of him opening the cards, and just how happy that made him. So really special. And again, for us here, especially on the early game, but I know throughout 107.5 the game, he will be missed. So thoughts and prayers with him. And again, we'll continue to honor him. I know when Jen comes back, we'll have some more audio of phone calls he made and specific things he said. So thoughts and prayers there. 803-404-6100 if you want to continue to text in. Speaking of Gamecock news, as Gamecock Larry would want us to do, I hope
Get on topic.
I hope I didn't jinx this yesterday. I hope this is not my fault, as most things tend to be. Yesterday, I looked at you and Tyler coming off of Wednesday night's Carolina calls, and Shane Beamer said, well, Kyle Kennard is out. We got one more player weighing his options. And I looked at you, and I think both Tyler and I thought, maybe you talked about Nick Eamon-Worry.
Right.
Well, yesterday we found out who. At least, or this is who we assume. Rocket Sanders makes his announcement, declares for the draft. No surprise there, right? Like, we're all in. We all knew this was a one-year deal from the get-go, right?
Right.
He had more eligibility left?
I don't know.
See, so this is where it gets weird, because only his post said that he was declaring for the draft. And we're assuming that means he's opting out of the bowl game, right? Because he never clearly said that I'm opting out. I'm just reading what he wrote.
You're also right about that.
But did you catch what he did about a day ago before making this announcement?
That was Wednesday. A bunch of them did this.
I know a bunch of them did this, but the fact that he did it specifically got a lot of people riled up.
And if you don't know what Tyler's referring to, if you don't live on X like we unfortunately do, he posted up next year's schedule, maybe indicating. I saw people saying, like, does he have eligibility left? So let's clear the fray. Does he have eligibility left?
So he played 4 years.
Oh, boy.
He played 4 years. None of it was COVID-related. I don't know if last year, I'll have it. I'll tell you in just a minute, if he played in more than 4 games. I don't know if he would have gotten it. I guess he could have applied for a medical red shirt for his 1 year, for last year, for 2023 at Arkansas. They are handing out medical red shirts left and right now as if it's candy. Back in your day, he played in 6 games last year at Arkansas. So technically he did not have a red shirt. He could have applied for a medical red shirt, to which, again, they seem to be handing these things out left and right now.
They used to call medical hardships. See, you got to pay attention to the words.
I think Shannon Wadley might have tried to get one, or
denied.
Yeah, right. They used to have a very strict process for this. Yes. Now it's like, oh, you stubbed your toe? Here you go.
Yeah, Shannon got hurt before the season, and they was like, we're not going to do that.
Who was the one? The best one was, one of the quarterbacks for Spurrier, I think. One of the early quarterbacks who got hurt. I don't think it was Chris Smelley, but they were interviewing him, we were interviewing him. We were over there at the Proving Grounds interviewing him, and supposedly he had a left ankle injury, but he accidentally said it was a right ankle injury. And one of the reporters was like, well, wait, I thought it was the left. And he looked down and he's like, oh, yeah. I think it was like a George Costanza moment where
it happens, man. You got to get your story tight. That's why you got to get your story tight. But okay, so he doesn't have any eligibility. Well, he could have. He could have. Okay. That means he's declaring for the NFL.
So his is at least a little more
So you're fine with that?
Unlike Ryan Helinski, who was out. There was no eligibility left.
Okay.
Or Kyle, and no offense to Kyle Kennard, but...
Yeah, Kyle, we knew where you were going. Okay, now, Tyler, I teach my students close reading.
Okay.
Did they say anything about opting out, or is that implied?
Let me skim over this again.
Now, again, I'm reading. This is what I do with Kyle Kennard. This is from Hale McGranahan with.
Because you got to follow the
You can read it.
Yeah.
But Hale McGranahan reported yesterday he is the second player to make the declaration before the Citrus Bowl. Presumably is the word. Sanders will not play in the bowl game against Illinois. Good point.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Until they say it themselves, or until, because like with Kennard, Coach Beamer said in his presser the other day, Kyle Kennard's not going to play in the bowl game.
Right.
After he made his announcement of declaring for the draft. So until we hear otherwise, we can be cautiously optimistic that maybe he'll still play.
And I believe, once again, we don't have any media availability for several days to get clarity on this. Why are we making this so difficult to say? This is such a simple process.
Well, and the frustrating part is we don't have access to practice right now because you could go out there and see, hey, number 5's not practicing on either side of the football, so they're not playing, which would be a pretty easy way to figure that out.
That's a good point. I forgot they were.
Yeah, normally you get to go out there for like 30 minutes to go and watch and observe who's there.
Which, by the way,
let me just point this out, and I'm being funny, but I'm not being funny. I have never, and I've been a part of some kind of coverage of South Carolina athletics since about 2006, I believe, 2007, 2006, somewhere in that range. And in this era, it's been a different era than anything previous. South Carolina's been to a lot of bowl games. I've never seen anything like this where we didn't even know when practice started. Like, we assume they're practicing.
You're right.
There's normally some kind of media available. This has been the oddest bowl season. Tyler, you're 28. You're younger. You never really had to cover any of this. Last year, your first year here, we didn't make a bowl, which Preston, you've never really had to do media, like the actual coverage of media stuff, go ask questions and do stuff. I've never experienced anything like this where we don't even really know what – we assume they're practicing.
Yeah, they're doing something. I think they're
doing something.
They're doing something. But it's so funny because we talk about the calendar all the time, and, we just had the signing day. We're in the midst of the portal stuff. Like, the thought of them practicing is not at the top of anyone's minds right now. We're like, yeah, the bowl game's in 2 weeks, 12 days, whatever it may be. We're like, oh, well, they got to get ready for that game. And 15 practices, I think, leading up to a bowl game or something like that. So we know it's happening at some point between now and then. But, again, especially with the Christmas holidays and all that kind of stuff, we don't have our usual Tuesday presser. We'll hear from them when we hear from them. Like I said, I know once they get down to Orlando, there'll be the media availabilities after practice.
We assume,
because that's what happened with the Gator Bowl a couple years ago. But until then, yeah.
Well, are we still on like what was a conventional bowl schedule where they go for a week to the site? Is that still the thing, or
we don't know?
Yeah, we don't even know when they're leaving. I'm assuming it's going to be after Christmas. Is that the 26th, 27th, 28th? I don't know. We'll see.
We left on Christmas Day one year, which was terrible.
We're going to tune in at 3 o'clock on December 31st. They're going to be on the field. How practiced they are at that point in time, we don't know, but they're going to play. That's all we know.
I think these are all great questions.
I've covered in some, whether it was ESPN or the Big Spur or whatever, some form of cover. I've been doing radio since my daughter was born, so that's 15 years. I started a month before she was born, so it makes it easy for me to remember how long I've done radio. But I've never. You're right. Like, Shane's been ultra quiet about this. Preston, is real quick, in all seriousness, is this a sign of Shane Beamer continuing to grow as a head coach where you just downplay everything? Or is there just too much going on?
It might be too much. The calendar might be too packed. Could be a possible sign of that. I don't know. I think it is mysterious because there is sort of like an information hole that people don't have. You usually at its time you would get a bowl schedule of practices. Some of those practices would even be more open, but haven't had that.
He alluded to it either on Carolina Calls or in his press the other day that the guys that played in the state championships, Jaden Sellers, Cutter Woods, they're practicing with the team now. So we know practice has begun. When that's taking place, we don't know exactly, but we know something is happening.
I like a good investigative journey. So he also said that they had just came off the field on that Carolina Calls too, so they practice in the evenings now.
Maybe late afternoons.
Late afternoons.
The 6 o'clock Carolina Calls. So
typically during the season, they're an early morning practice, but it's different now. I don't know. We know nothing.
Texter weighs in. I didn't read the entire transcription of the press conference the other day, but the Beamer said in the Shula press conference they would leave on the 26th.
Okay.
So the day after.
Good for them, man, because one year I had to leave on Christmas Day, and that was big trash.
Wait, what time on Christmas Day?
Well, the plane left midday. I left like after Christmas morning. It was garbage.
So you had to get back here that morning,
Yes.
wake up with the family, open presents, and be like, "I'll see y'all later."
Yes, it was probably the saddest Christmas I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was just me and my mother, and I had to leave my mother on Christmas Day to go play in some silly bowl game. It was the worst experience.
Well, there's only two of them. One, you were a red shirt.
Yeah, well, I mean that was the first. That was the first one. The second one, I guess we was used to the routine, but yeah, it was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
So good for you for not leaving on Christmas Day.
So Rocket Centers may or may not play in the ball game. We'll find out.
I'm just saying it doesn't say that.
You are right.
There's a lot of words on that paper. Thanks everybody. Thanks both squads. Thanks teams. Thanks his family. I just need you to just say, hey, I'm not playing, and we're good. We're good either way.
All right, we'll roll along. Does home field advantage come into play tomorrow? We'll get into. Well, we've gone in on Ryan Day. Oh, I got to get to your wager with Saki too. Got to get that. We got a lot to do. 45 minutes to do it. You're listening to the early game. Not sure how I'm supposed to do a spot after that. Let me tell you about the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. If you're looking to move in 2025, if you're thinking about refinancing your home, if you're thinking about moving, upgrading, downsizing, well, you need to call the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Need to find out how much money you can get, what the interest rates are, things of that nature. That's always the first step before you start making that big move. So call Jacob Crowder today and learn what is available to you, what products. For example, in Richland County, if you're thinking about moving into Richland County, you need to check out the Community Reinvestment Product, where right now you can get a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. Call the mortgage guru today, Jacob Crowder. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
All right, let's take another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday morning. Still got some of the same things going on the roadways. Accident at I-20 westbound and St. Andrews Road. That is exit number 106. So be careful as you're making your way throughout that area. Accident out at Rabin Road and Farrow Road as well. And then looking a little bit closer to the city, Bush River Road and Broad River Road, another accident going through that area too. Take a look at your weather. Still about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. Cloudy at the moment. High today getting up to 60 with plenty of sunshine. 51 tomorrow, 45 on Sunday, 47 on Monday. Start your Christmas week. It's your traffic and weather on the early game.
Eight 803-404-6100 if you want to text in this morning, 822, as we roll along. Get you ready for the college football playoff. We'll make some picks coming up here, the 4 games. Starting tonight, Indiana and Notre Dame. So that's going to lead us into the whole new world of the college football playoff, and what transpires from there will be kind of interesting. Again, we'll get to those. The question, though, as James Franklin pondered, and let's hear him, is what it will feel like is a home game. Here's James Franklin yesterday.
I think obviously it's in Beaver Stadium, but it's one of the things I think is really important is the students. Our students make a huge difference for us. And obviously being after finals and things like that makes it a little bit challenging. So that's a little bit of a concern. And then obviously it's a home game for us, but to your point, the college football playoff pretty much runs everything else. So it will not feel like it normally feels to us playing a home game in Beaver Stadium, but overall, in general, obviously we're glad and fortunate to be home. So we'll take it. This is the structure that exists, and we're going to embrace it and move forward.
It's a weird rant from James Franklin. It's a weird man.
I think this is interesting because, again, I feel like the suits may have miscalculated what actually a home game is. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to put them in their stadium.
Right.
But CFP, you don't need to control the environment. These stadiums run games every week without you. We don't need your branding on every empty moment. We don't need you controlling the video boards. We don't need any of that. That's what makes a home environment. And again, in an effort to make everything similar, make everything the same, make it clean and uniform, they're kind of trying to scrub out some of the character that makes college football what it is.
This is the issue that I have. Like, the NCAA does this with, like, the women's tournament where you have the first 2 rounds at home venues where they kind of sterilize that a little bit to try and take the advantage away from being on your home court. Baseball, when you're hosting a regional or super regional, you can't have your own walk-up music. They control a lot of that. And that's the NCAA, which we know is flawed as all get out. The college football playoff is its own separate entity. They did not have to do this. They didn't have to fall in line with what the NCAA does with their tournaments. They could have been different. They could have said, yeah, your home field, do whatever you want, and the other team has to deal with it because they weren't a high enough seed, and that's on them. But again, we're starting off on the wrong foot here. And is that going to be the difference between winning and losing this game for Penn State tomorrow or Notre Dame tonight? Probably not. But still, what makes college football great, and the reason why people are so excited about these games being on campus, is the true campus atmosphere. And if you're taking anything away from that, you're doing yourself a disservice.
So what does that look like if we were to have played a home game here at South Carolina? Does that mean no sandstorm?
Maybe.
Does that mean that's another Carolina first down? Does it mean we don't have our own PA? What does it
Can you
actually
not run out
mean?
to 2001?
Well, that's what I'm going to ask. Like, what do we know what's being taken away?
They've not really specified. The one thing we've heard is the hype video that Tennessee's going to get at Ohio State. That's per Ross Bjork. So I imagine all visiting teams are going to get, hey, as they're coming out, here's what they've done this year. And
essentially
hype up
produced hype video.
Essentially,
but we don't want that.
No, you don't want that.
We have Justin King already, and they have their Justin King or whoever. Give us their hype video.
Sure. And yeah, again, that's what we've heard so far. But I would hope they're not neutering entrances and things like that or music you play in the stadium. Because, again, there are so many venues around the country, and Carolina is one of the best ones, that have their own traditions when it comes to music played at certain times or sounds. Would you not be able to play the Gamecock sound on third down here?
Yes, that's what I would. I do assume that, yes.
A home game, like, again,
that's not a home game.
You're taking away from the environment.
I agree.
Because guess what? If you're a quarterback getting ready for a third down play and there's this chicken screaming around the stadium, that's going to affect you. And that's an advantage that South Carolina has.
And that's part of the novelty of going into these stadiums that you don't go into any other time. And so you're like, man, those people in South Carolina or those people in Happy Valley, they do this weird thing on third down. It's really interesting what they do. That's part of why you even want to travel to those games.
Let's say if Mississippi State hosted a first-round game, would they not be allowed to have cowbells?
That seems ridiculous.
That in and of itself is already kind of like an agreement. Like, you're not really supposed to have these, but we'll do it because it's your tradition. But if the college football playoff came around, sorry, can't have them.
All right, so I'm reading this. This is off of Sporting News. This is kind of interesting real quick here. Number one, part of what he was discussing has nothing to do with college football playoff, even though he mentioned it. His concern, and I'm not familiar with Happy Valley and its location.
It's in the middle of nowhere, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody's staying there.
Well, and he points out that the students, that apparently they're not going to have a big student contingent for this game.
Well, that's on them. They chose their college.
He is kind of talking about it from that level. Andrew Filipponi from a radio station up there has suggested that the attendance could fall well below the Beaver Stadium capacity, could be closer to 70 to 75,000 fans with lots of empty seats for that particular game. So I don't know. It does say that they will still be playing the crowd favorite anthem, Mo Bamba.
Okay, that's good.
You familiar with that?
I'm familiar with it. You may not be familiar with the song. You've heard it ad nauseum if you've been to any sporting event in the last 5 years.
Is it? What is it? Is it one of the? Dun, 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 dun.
No, man. No. We're going to get it. We're going to cue it up for you.
Please do.
I'll cue it up for you.
We'll cue it up.
Come back from the next break.
But it does say that a lot of this is actually still very vague with how the College Football Playoff Committee or the College Football Playoff is running this thing in terms of what is and what is allowed, I guess.
Don't make this like the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, as big of a game as it is the most sterile environment in all of sports because you have a bunch of rich people that, for the most part, probably don't care about the two teams there that are just at the Super Bowl to be at the Super Bowl. Don't make this where your true diehard fans cannot be at first-round playoff games.
The only question I would have, and I can look this up during the break, is what was the ticket allotment? Was it 50-50? I feel like if it was 50-50, I would have heard more about this. Probably we'll look that up during the break and kind of see because I feel like your crowd is what makes it a home field advantage. I want to get into that with you for a second when we come back. What makes a home field advantage? 803-404-6100. What makes a home field advantage? Is it the crowd? Because if the crowd's there and they're chanting and they're doing their thing, it's still home field. Is it music? Is it your entrances? Is it your video board? 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game.
Tyler, you going to bring us back with Mo Bamba?
Bill Gunner for the Men's Clinic and Dr. Dan Balknight. Guys, as we age, as we get older, our bodies change a little bit. Things start happening. Don't just shrug it off to the usual aging process. If you're experiencing some issues, maybe you're having brain fog. You're forgetting things a little more frequently. Maybe your hair is not growing. You're losing hair, and you're a little concerned about that. There are certain issues that occur, and you need to speak with someone. Give Dr. Dan Balknight a call today and line up an appointment. 803-875-MENS. Located right off of St. Andrews Road over in Irmo. At the Men's Clinic, they understand that you want to live your absolute best life, and the way to do that is to treat you like an individual, not just give you general medical care. Guys, you are individuals. You don't need to be treated like everybody else. You need to be treated specifically for whatever is your issue. So call today and line up an appointment. 803-875-MENS. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
And look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Friday. Happy to report the roadway is actually starting to clear up a little bit. Still showing that accident as of right now out at Raven Road and Farrow Road. But other than that, in and around the city, everything looks relatively okay. Hopefully it stays that way for the rest of the morning as you make your way to work, school, or wherever you are headed. Still about 50 degrees here in downtown Columbia. Cloudy. High today going to get up to 60 with lots of sunshine. High tomorrow 51, 45 on Sunday, and 47 on Monday to start your holiday week. That's look at your traffic and weather here on The Early Game.
I've never heard this.
You've heard this, Bill. You've heard this at a sporting event. Now, I'm not playing the lyrics because there's some vulgarities in there, but...
yeah, that's about essentially
that's
the
it.
lyrics.
But this is the instrumental, but you've heard this before.
Okay.
Places get going. Gets the crowd going. It's provocative.
They used to really spam it quite a bit. Maybe more than they should have. They've dialed it back.
Texter says, where are the words? That does him no good.
Well,
same texter was like, oh, man, that is not the right song you had just hummed.
No, yeah, you hummed 7 Nation.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know if it was something different. I know that was Jack White. So we've been talking about James Franklin talking about the home field advantage for the playoff games. South Carolina's accustomed to this in two different ways. One, because of hosting baseball regionals. And two, because of what Tyler said, hosting the women's basketball first round. 803-404-6100. If you've ever been to one of those, have you felt like it wasn't a home field advantage? Preston, have you been to one of the women's first round games, or did you ever go to a baseball regional?
No.
I've been to both. I felt like they were, yeah, there are some watered down things in terms of like the court was different. I think at baseball games, South Carolina wasn't always in their home dugout, moved some of the things around. But I always thought that, it never. I would expect these to be home games, to have the home game feel.
But when people talk about, we've been bragging about the home field experience, about coming to Williams-Brice. It's not about how loud the fans cheered. Fans are great. They're awesome. But in today's modern era, it's about all the accoutrements. It's about Sandstorm. It's about the smoke. It's about the fire. It's about the chicken. It's about all these different things which make it a home field environment.
So Texas AD Chris Del Conte, somebody sent me a screenshot of his Twitter account. Back on December 12th, he was asked by a tweeter, is our home playoff game going to be treated like a bowl game? And he said it's a combination of both. It will be our normal home theatrics with some bowl game elements to boot.
What does that mean?
That's a great question. We'll find out. We'll find out, I guess, in a few hours tonight. Means,
but a lot of times when I always bring up the conversation of like veggie chips.
Yeah, those veggie sticks or something.
Those are stupid, right? I either want potato chips or I want vegetables. You cannot combine them and make a thing. So I don't want a bowl game experience combined with my home field experience. Give me one or the other. I don't want veggie chips. It is dumb.
For the record, I feel like you went off the rails when we brought back up a bad experience with having to leave on Christmas Day.
Yeah, it was terrible, man.
Yeah, like it feels like it triggered you.
Yeah, that was a really. I mean, we think about these bowl games as it's such a great experience for the players, and it was not a great experience for me. I had to leave my family to go redshirt on the sideline for some bowl game, which everybody thought was cool. It's like, this is not great. It ended up being cool, but a lot of times we don't think about the actual player's experience, and it wasn't great.
803-404-60.
And veggie chips, dumb.
That also seemed to really trigger you. This is an article real quick out of the Austin American Statesman about seats allotment for the Clemson Texas game. And basically it says that Clemson fans, the ticket allotment for Clemson fans was 3,500. And they were to sit in the southeast corner of the stadium, according to Texas Athletics. I don't know if that's normal or not.
I'm surprised they didn't kick them to the upper deck like they like to do opposing teams' bands.
That might have been the one place that the College Football Playoff Committee or what College Football Playoff stepped in and was like, no, you can't do that.
Actually, you're going to have to watch from the parking lot. Sorry.
The article does say the Longhorns will pack the stadium full of burnt orange to defend their home, but they are required to allow some Tigers into the stadium.
It's kind of like when you go to that holiday party and you see that cousin you don't really like, and your mom's like, well, go give him a hug. Tell him, hey, how's it going? And you're like, all right, I'll do it. But you're not excited about it. Same thing here.
It does go on. This is the Texas newspaper, Austin American Statesman. It does say Texas students will have their usual allotment of tickets despite being out of school for winter break. The usual big ticket claim process for the Texas students was the same. However, students had to pay an additional $25 for college football playoff tickets. So there's just an idea on tickets. Make some picks here. Preston, you have been offered a wager by our good buddy Saki, who is on the way up to Columbus with Rock Lucas to watch his Ohio State team, to watch Saki's Ohio State team. And I don't think Rock is Ohio State. I think he's going for the experience. Could be wrong. But you have read the wager. Mm-hmm. It is a $100 gift card to a restaurant here in town for you in the event that an SEC team is the last one standing. Now,
it might give me an appetizer at that restaurant.
Yeah.
I digress.
He was there the other day. They think highly of their drinks, too. But he's not taking Ohio State. He's taking all of the Big Ten. So he's got Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana, and Penn State. Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana, Penn State. He's got all this. He's offering you Georgia, Tennessee. Come on, Gunner, put it together. The third SEC team. Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee. All right, we got those. So he's got 4. You got 3. He is saying the last school standing wins. If you lose on our live stream, on our 107.5 The Game live stream, you have to hold up a sign saying the Big Ten is by far the best conference in the country.
I accept this challenge. I'll even add on to that. I'll find some stupid small glasses like James Franklin. I'll even deck myself out in gear. I accept this. But I want to be clear. I don't have an issue with Ohio State. Matter of fact, Columbus, beautiful city, awesome city. Have had a great time the times that I've been there. I think it's just Ryan Day.
That's understandable.
So that's. I just want to be clear to my guy Saki. It's not you or your ilk or anything about Ohio State. It's just Ryan Day.
And Preston, you're undefeated against Ohio State.
That's true.
So you got nothing to prove.
That's a good point.
There we go.
That's a good point.
There we go. But I accept.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
On behalf of all SEC homers, I accept.
Good. Preston is standing up for the SEC. We'll come back. Hopefully we won't step on Tyler's toes here about making picks. I don't know if you're doing that on your show later today.
I'm good with it.
All right, so Tyler will make some picks with us. We'll look at these 4 games, and we'll make some picks when we come back. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. So whether it's your home or your business, you need to contact Mid-State Roofing the next time you discover a leak. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, think before that. Don't let a leak happen. Go ahead and call Mid-State Roofing today. Again, whether it's your business or whether it is your home, you want to make sure that you have a secure roof over your head that's keeping your operation dry and running long into the future. And Mid-State Roofing is there to help you with that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You give them a phone call. They'll have an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to take your phone call. So again, if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek, but go ahead. Call them ahead of time. Don't even let them have a leak. Call Mid-State Roofing today. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Have you received one of those mean, nasty notices from the IRS threatening you or your business regarding taxes? Well, if so, it's time to call John Ecton and his team. They've been helping thousands of families just like yours navigate the IRS maze, and they're ready to do it all over again. So if you've received one of these notices, don't try and deal with the IRS by yourself. Call John Ecton today, 803-771-9800. You can get a free consultation. At the Ecton Law Firm, they understand the challenges you're facing, and they're ready to help you. So whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Aiken, Augusta, Charleston, anywhere in this great state, don't try and fight the IRS by yourself. Call the Ecton Law Firm today, 803-771-9800. You can find more information on the web. That's ectonlawfirm.com. Call them today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping it up here on your Friday morning. Again, thoughts and prayers with Gamecock Larry's family. We've talked a lot about him and our remembrance, and we'll continue to do so. We'll continue to do so, Preston, as we move through, definitely when Jen comes back as well. I know she'll want to weigh in some more, and you heard a great tribute earlier in the program that we will have running on our airwaves throughout the day, throughout the weeks, with a lot of his sound and his ability to go after Dabo Sweeney and Georgia Bulldogs and Tennessee Volunteers. So we will do that. We will do that. Again, thoughts and prayers. He will be missed. College football playoff gets going tonight, guys. Gets going tonight. It's here. It's finally here. As the article on ESPN states, the 12-team playoff finally here. We got 4 games. Gets going tonight. So let's make a few picks here and see where we stand. Now, by the way, I think I saw maybe Jay do this. He filled out an entire bracket.
Yeah, he did the entire bracket. I believe he had Georgia winning the whole thing from what I saw.
Believe so. So, all right. So, but let's do this. We will pick tonight's games, and then we'll pick who we think wins it, and we'll try and hold each other accountable and see really where it goes. All right. Let's start with tonight. Indiana, Notre Dame. Point spread, by the way, 7.5, depending on where you look at. I'll pull the ESPN bet point spread back up. Preston, I'll start with you. Where are you going?
Give me Indiana.
Straight up?
Straight up.
I'm going to get, I think, 7. He takes Indiana straight up.
What was that line again?
I believe it's going to be 7.
Give me Notre Dame to cover.
Notre Dame to cover.
Indiana struggled against better defenses, and Notre Dame's got a pretty good defense.
It is 7. It is 7, by the way. I kind of lean with Preston on this.
Okay.
It feels like everybody's overlooking Indiana. It feels like we're saying that they don't deserve to be here, and I'm not sure how good Notre Dame is. I know one of our constant texters, I think he's already on his plane, Richard, who weighs in very early each and every morning. He's a Notre Dame fan. He said he was on the plane heading up there. He's
awesome.
heading
That's
up there.
Be really cool. Let's hope he can report back.
Indiana. I'm with you. Indiana covers, and I kind of think Indiana might win outright. By the way, real quick, other bowl games today. Ohio at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State, Rich Rodriguez-less. now off to West Virginia.
Yep.
Ohio's coach now down here to Charlotte.
Yeah, he didn't even let the get dry from the Gatorade bath.
Yeah, he ran through the Gatorade bath to the car, got in the car, and started driving to Charlotte. He didn't hang around at all. But that game's at noon. 3 o'clock today, real quick, guys. Tulane in Florida. This is actually kind of a big game for Billy Napier. You need to win this to kind of keep some offseason momentum that they've developed with the way they finished up the season. They won 3 straight. They beat LSU. They beat Mississippi. They tagged Florida State. It's kind of one of those games for them. They could go to 8 wins.
They could, and Tulane's quarterback, Darian Mintz, has already transferred out, so they're starting Ty Thompson, who's an Oregon transfer without much experience up to this point. So I kind of like the Gators in this one today.
Spread on that game, 11.5 right now.
Underrated coaching job by Billy Napier this year.
Round of applause. We all thought he was
for sure
done by now.
Yeah. Yeah, so just FY 3:30 today, you can get your bowl watching on. That'll be the Gasparilla Bowl, Union Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl.
My favorite bowl name, by the way.
Phenomenal, down at Raymond James Stadium. All right, tomorrow, noon game, some kind of home atmosphere. SMU at Penn State. Penn State minus 8.5.
You know what I want to happen, but I don't think it will. So I'll take Penn State.
I got SMU pulling the upset.
Ooh, I'd be so
wow.
happy.
Yeah, personally.
I'd be very happy with that.
Big game.
I feel like
man.
we should do something to him and hold him accountable.
No.
He's taking days off, but that is almost in honor of Gamecock Larry right there. That is a prediction.
I couldn't go all chalk with this. I had to do something outside the box.
You already took Indiana.
Well,
now you're going all. What's the opposite of taking all chalk?
No, I took.
He
Notre
took Notre Dame.
Oh, he took. No, you took Indiana. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Penn State wears them out.
You down on SMU.
I had him down on SMU.
I don't know about that.
Minus 8.5. Give me.
There's something about a team that has nothing to lose.
He's down on it.
I don't know if this is a big game for big game James.
Oh, it's big.
I mean, it's big, but
it's huge.
Give me Penn State minus 8.5. Let's skip Clemson, Texas. We'll come back to that. Tennessee, Ohio State. Ohio State's minus 7.5. I feel like that's a lot. Night game in Columbus. They're going to have a video montage for both teams, whatever that means to open the game. Minus 7.5. Tyler, I'll start with you.
I got Tennessee winning this one.
Well, obviously I'm locked in now, so I have to go with Tennessee. But yes, I do think Tennessee will win this game.
So if they were taking pictures of us, we'd all have the Tennessee logo right here, and they'd be displaying it all over Columbus. That the early game in Columbia, South Carolina is
Ryan David. Hey, you guys down in Columbia?
Yeah, I'm with you. Tennessee
wins. Where are
wins.
you now?
Tennessee wins.
I want to know where Preston Thorne is right now.
Tennessee wins, and I don't know if Ryan Day is still coaching at Ohio State when we reconvene on Monday. Clemson and Texas. Texas 12-point favorite.
I know what I'm supposed to do. I know the marching orders. I know what the orders are. But
oh, no. Straight up? Take it, just the points?
Give me the uglier shade of orange.
Clemson?
Yeah.
To win, or you?
I'm taking Clemson to win.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Preston Thorne may not be employed on Monday morning.
I think Clemson can cover. I don't think they're going to win. Texas hasn't played its best football as of late. Some kind of sloppy, slow, ugly games. So I think they're going to win, but I don't think they'll cover 12.
Give me the Longhorns. Give me the Longhorns. Minus the 12. Texas by 90. I think Texas wins this guy. Clemson, look at who Clemson has beaten. Look at who they've played.
Beat SMU?
Texas. Yeah, exactly. Precisely. Texas wins this thing by 2 touchdowns. No problem tomorrow. Real quick, who you want in the playoff? Who you going with, Tyler?
I got to lean towards Oregon right now.
Oregon?
Give me them Bulldogs.
Give me the Bulldogs. I'm with him on that. Give me the Dogs. Gamecock Larry would hate us for that. Thoughts and prayers with his family. Hope all of y'all have a great weekend. College football playoff watching, Preston Thorne.
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
Tyler, we've enjoyed it.
Tyler, appreciate you, man.
Always glad when you're in.
MVP.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have a great weekend.